Chris with Coldbreak here with another customer question. Nick writes, "Hey guys, I'm currently in the middle of building a tap trailer. I'm going to be utilizing a jockey box for it. Currently weighing options as far as that said box. I have a Yeti, so 45 or 65 in the works for the cooler itself, but was wondering what parts he'd need for a 4-tap system to double stack the coils. Also thinking about using that same cooler as a standalone jockey box. If someone wanted to rent that for a brewfest without the trailer, do you think front and back connections would be best, or possibly back connections only? Let me know." All right, Nick. So there's like 3 or 4 questions in here, and let's take them one at a time. So he's utilizing a jockey box for it, currently weighing options for a Yeti 45 or 65. So on our site, you've got 2 choices when you're building a tap trailer. You can use a jockey box or a jumper box. Jumper boxes is a pass-through system that allows you to attach externally mounted beer faucets to it, like a wall or a tap tower. Jockey boxes can be a jumper box with one fitting adjustment, and you can go back and forth between using it as a jumper box and a jockey box. So that is possible, yes. The Yeti 45 and 65 is a great size for a cooler. We have our own, let me bring up our website here. We have our own roto-molded coolers that we use, that we like. Same thing, same size, 45 and 65. They will hold 2 to 4 taps wonderfully. The 45s are pretty tight and it's more compact. You can still get 4 coils in there though. The 65 is going to be a little bit larger and a little bit more room. You're going to hold a little bit more ice. So if you wanted my recommendation, I would say go with the 65 unless you're tight on space, then go with the 45. We can go larger as well, but once you get up to the 110s and 170s, you start getting really heavy. Even when empty, they're pretty heavy and you need 2 people to move them around. Once you add the ice that's needed, that's required to fill this thing, you're adding another probably 50, 60 pounds of ice to it. So they get heavy. So size-wise, 45 and 65 is great. He asked about front and rear inputs. Unfortunately, with the roto-molded coolers, the walls are pretty thick in here. And so once you actually do open up the cooler, you lose a lot of space in comparison to the actual size of the cooler from the outside, what it looks like, right? The inside, they're not tall enough to do a front input. So that's why you only see rear input roto-molded coolers from us, because the way that we build them, the way that we set them up, there's just not enough height. Now on our stainless coolers, what you'll see is we can do front inputs, but these coolers are a lot taller than the roto-molded coolers on the inside and outside. They're a couple inches taller, but we have a lot more room on the inside of these coolers. So this allows us to do front inputs. We can't do that with the rotos. So you have to go rear input if you're going to go roto, especially with our equipment. And so he's got his own Yeti cooler, right? He doesn't want one of ours. That's fine. So he's got to build it himself. So if you come over back underneath the jockey boxes, we have kits already available, right? These are shown out of stock. We're right in the middle of our busy season, so that makes sense. You can choose, like, we've got it all set up for you. Like, we're not going to upcharge you here. Like, if you were to put all these parts and pieces together, from our website, it's going to be roughly the same price, right? So this just makes it easier for you guys. If you're building your own here, just throw that into your cart and you've got all the parts and pieces that you need, right? So 3-tap system here. You can tell you can choose jockey or jumper box. You can tell that this is a jockey box because it's got the faucet shanks here, right? So these are the rear coupling shanks. So this is your input, and then these would be your output. If you wanted to build a jumper box, same type of thing, right? Here's your jumper box. Here's your input or output. Jumper boxes can go input or output on either side. It doesn't really matter. But see, these are the coupling shanks as well, right? So here you're attaching an externally mounted beer faucet on a wall, or you're attaching a draft tower to this, right? So his last question was the connection that you need. So a jockey box can be a jockey box or a jumper box, but a jumper box can only be a jumper box, right? You can't go back and forth. So if he wants to be able to pull this out of his tap trailer and use it as both, you want to build it as a jockey box, and then you want to add one more part to it, right? And so if you come to the tail pieces here, there is a tail piece for tubing, which actually attaches directly to the faucet, right? So this is the faucet shank coming out of the front of the jockey box. And this is a faucet shank adapter. So this screws where the faucet is, and then this turns it into tubing, right? So here you would attach this piece to either like the end of your draft tower lines, or you would attach this to your shank jumper, which would go from here to the externally mounted faucet shanks. Let's say that you've got mounted on a wall somewhere, right? And so then you can choose the barb size here. So when you're coming out of a jockey box, you always want to go small or ID. You always want to go large from the keg to the, and then as you go through the system, like once it enters the jockey box, and when you leave the jockey box, you want to go just continue either the same size ID, internal diameter, or you want to go smaller. So here you want to choose either 3/16 or 1/4 inch, because the inside diameter of the stainless steel coils in your jockey box are 1/4 inch, right? They're 5/16 OD coils, 1/4 inch ID. So you want to either go 1/4 inch or 3/16 inch barb here. Okay, that was a mouthful. The last question he asked was about, so he wants that part and piece to be able to pull it in and out of his trailer, but he also wants to be able to rent them, right? And so that's a great option. So if you're a mobile bar and you're not renting jockey boxes, you should be, right? So we get lots of questions all the time, and we direct them to the local mobile bars that do. We help supply the local mobile bars with jockey boxes. That's not part of our business model, but we do get questions all the time for it because we are a jockey box manufacturer. People want to rent them all the time, especially like the bars and breweries around the area. And we say, yeah, that's great, but that's not something that we do. Here's a list of companies that do in the area, and we help them out, right? So it's whole nother revenue stream for you guys. Start renting your jockey boxes, and yeah. Any other questions? Fire them off. Support@coldbreakusa.com.